His divine grace, Isi Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadha Sivasadi Gour Bhaktavinda ki jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Guru Shama Kund Radha Kund Girigodan ki jai. Kantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Samaveta Bhaktavinda ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 9, the Dynasty of Amshuma, text 48, which is the next to last text of this chapter. Iti Yavasita. I'm having to do with Vidya Chaitanya Prabhu's class, which is my church. Actually, we do little stronger classes. Anyway, I have to do with this. So, please excuse me if I...
Can you speak louder, please, Prabhu? I can't hear a word.
Maybe someone else can read for you?
I will do, I just have to. I'm saying I forgot my glasses, but by the grace of Vidya Chaitanya Prabhu, I have some, not as strong as I normally use, but anyway, I will try to do with what I have. Iti Yavasita Buddhya Narayana Vihitaya Hitvanya Param Ajnanam Tataha Svam Patam Astita Iti Vyavasito Buddhya Iti Vyavasito Buddhya Narayano Vihitaya Vidvanya Bhavamadhyana Vidvanya Bhavamadhyana Tatasvam Bhavam Asita Tatasvam Bhavam Astita Iti Vyavasito Buddhya Narayano Grihitaya Vidvanya Bhavamadhyana Tatahasvam Bhavam Astita
Iti vyavasito buddhya Narayana Grihitaya Vidvanya Bhavamadhyanam Tatasvam Bhavamastitaha
Iti vyavasito buddhya Narayana Grihitaya Vidvanya Bhagavan Ajnam Tataksvam Bhavam Ashtita Iti vyavasito buddhya Narayana Grihitaya Vidvanya Bhagavan Ajnam Tatasvam Bhavam Astita
Any of the ladies? Thus, Vyavasita, having firmly decided, Buddhya, by proper intelligence, Narayana Grihitaya, completely controlled by the mercy of Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hitva, giving up. Anyabhavam, consciousness other than Krishna consciousness. Ajnanam, which is nothing but constant ignorance and darkness. Tataha, thereafter, Svam, his original position as an eternal servant of Krishna. Bhavam, to devotional service. Astitaha, situated. Translation: thus Maharaj Khatvanga, by his advanced intelligence in rendering service to the Lord, gave up false identification with the body, full of ignorance. In his original position of eternal servitorship, he engaged himself in rendering service to the Lord. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. When one actually becomes purely Krishna conscious, no one has any right to rule over him. And situated in Krishna consciousness, one is no longer in the darkness of ignorance. And when freed from all such darkness, one is situated in his original position. Jivara Swarupa Krishna Nityadas. The living entity is eternally the servant of the Lord. And thus, when he engages himself in the service of the Lord in all respects, he enjoys the perfection of life. Iti vyavasito puja narayana krihitaya hitvanya bhavam ajnana tatha svam bhavam astitaha. Thus, Maharaj Khatvanga, by his advanced intelligence in rendering service to the Lord, gave up false identification with the body full of ignorance. In his original position of eternal servitorship, he engaged himself in rendering service to the Lord. Hare Krishna. So, after many years, I got the great privilege again giving class here in this most holy of holy places, Sridham Mayapur, and then also on this most holy of all holy days, well, in the English-speaking world, I think tomorrow is the day, but where I come from, Northern Europe, Scandinavia, I think also German-speaking world. So, Merry Christmas. Of course, sometimes devotees have discussions whether should we celebrate Christmas? It's a Christian holiday. No, it's actually not a Christian holiday. It has much older roots. It's pagan, very ancient, because in the north this is an important day because it's the shortest day of the year, so it means from this day on we are going towards brighter times. Winter is, the end is in sight of the dark winter. So it's naturally, has always been a day of celebration. And the Christians, they just accepted that and adapted it to their culture, claiming that this is the birthday of Jesus, which nobody knows when Jesus was born anyway. But they conveniently settled for that day, so we can continue celebrating and call it a Christian holiday. So, Here in India we have also a good excuse because it's Gita Jayanti, so we can also make a festival as we are doing here. So yes, any excuse to make a festival, why not? There's no harm. I still remember my first Christmas as a devotee. I joined just a few months earlier, and we were traveling Sankirtan, had a Christmas marathon, and we were planning to go back to the temple, but somehow, because where I come from in Denmark, it's a country of islands, so we had to take a ferry, and we didn't realize there's no ferry going on Christmas Eve, so we got stuck. So we had to spend the night in a hotel, and then also a Christian mission hotel or places. So there we were, and we just took a glass of hot milk and then got to bed. I felt a little strange. I became a little nostalgic. I thought, is that all? I mean, my whole life I've been used to, like I said, you also know this is the biggest celebration of the year. So, anyway, I wanted to make the point that sometimes, especially those of us who come not from a Vedic background, we have a little difficulties because we get the understanding that this culture we come from is all Maya. We should give it up. Just forget about all that you have learned. You're now a blank slate. But the problem is that we don't know the Vedic culture. We're not trained in the Vedic culture either. So sometimes we find ourselves in a kind of vacuum where there's no culture. We must give up the Western culture, but we don't really have something to replace it with. Therefore, of course, it's also very good. And Prabhupada also recommended that his disciples from the West, they would spend time in India to learn the culture. Because human beings, we need a culture. Yes, okay, if we are so advanced that we can simply chant Hare Krishna and, but who is on that platform? That's for the Haridas Thakur category. Until we reach that platform, we need something to fill out our life, a culture in short. Culture, what is culture? Culture is everything. Everything we do is part of our culture. And we cannot just jump from where we were, our background before we joined the ISKCON, and to, a full-fledged Vedic culture, which is not even there in India, manifested today. There has to be a gradual transition. So I wanted to make the point that we should not be too fanatic about, rejecting the background that we come from, in a cultural background. In the beginning, we should be satisfied to add Krishna into that, add the chanting of the holy name, the hearing of the revealed scriptures, following of our regulative principles. And then definitely it will be very much to our advantage to gradually accept more and more of the culture which is Krishna's culture, the Vedic culture. But it has to be, it's a gradual process. And there's nothing wrong with that. The tendency in this modern world is to go to extremes. Either we reject the Western culture completely, we shall have nothing to do with that anymore. We are now devotees, so we have to change. We have to make a full transition now. Or if we find out, or when we find out that it's not going to work, then sometimes we just reject the whole thing. Just forget about this. Krishna West. Sorry. Now we're getting into something controversial. Devotees there, yes, they get these ideas. Just have the philosophy and forget about the culture. We're going to, stay as we are, but talk about Krishna, chant Hare Krishna. But that's also not what we should do. As with everything else in life, we need to find a balance. But that's very hard in this age, because modes of passion and ignorance are very strong. Passion and ignorance means too little, passion means too much. Goodness means balance. One way of, concisely describing mode of goodness is everything balanced. But there's very little goodness in this age, so therefore, hard to find a balance. What we must try to find a healthy balance in all regards, all aspects of our lives. And this way we can be fixed in Krishna consciousness, happy, and feel at home as devotees, so that we can go on for our whole life and go back home, back to God at the end. Anyway, there's one thing here that I noticed is the very first sentence in Srila Prabhupada's purport struck me. He says that when one actually becomes purely Krishna conscious, no one has any right to rule over him. And it could superficially appear to be a defiant statement, taken out of context. This is one of these statements that you can misquote and use as an excuse to just reject everything. It says there, no one has any right to rule over me, so I don't care about the DBC and Gour, I'm now fully Krishna conscious. But obviously it is not what it means. It should be understood in context. We have to remember the whole, what is the situation here. That Maharaj Karmanga, he was asked to fight the demons on behalf of the demigods. And this was, of course, they were naturally very grateful for that. They were not able to defeat the demons, so he had saved them. So now they were indebted to him, and they wanted naturally to repay that debt by offering him a benediction. And for him he was practically on his side, he was obliged to accept that benediction. First of all, even though the demigods humiliated themselves in one sense by asking his help, but still they were his superiors. And to reject generous offered by a superior personalities, it's not very polite, or maybe not even proper. And as I said, besides that, it actually embarrassed the demigods further, because by rejecting their offer, they remained in the condition of being indebted to him. So one could say it was not so nice. But he did it anyway, and that is how I understand this statement by Srila Prabhupada. Practically the benediction, the offer of a benediction was it was almost an order given by the demigods. But Prabhupada says that because he had now become purely Krishna conscious, nobody had the right to rule over him, even the demigods. And therefore he had the right to say no thank you. Apparently, explained in one of the previous verses, I think verse 43 is mentioned that he left his palace. Apparently, the demigods had given him a palace in the heavenly planet. He was so much favored by them. But he left that palace and went back to the earth. So I think that's how I understand what Prabhupada what he means to say with this statement. There are an example to illustrate this is the story of Queen Kunti. She was, as we remember from Mahabharata, she was, as a young girl, she was serving Durvasa Muni very nicely. And he gave her the benediction that she could call upon any demigod she wanted. And being just a young girl, she was, in a somewhat playful way, she tried out her benediction and called it Sun God. And he showed up, and she might even have been a little surprised. Oops, here is Surya Dev. And she said, okay, thank you very much. I'm sorry for causing you any inconvenience. I didn't want to. Please be happy and go back to your... But the sun god said, no, you cannot just call me like that. When I come for a purpose. You must take something from me. I cannot just go back like that. I'm going to offer you a benediction and you have to accept it. So of course, the benediction was he wanted to give her a child. And that was a problem, of course. He was not married. And for a girl to have a child outside of marriage means normally in a normal human culture that her life is basically finished. She's never going to nobody's going to marry her, so big problem. But so okay, no problem, I'll fix it. You can give birth through the ear. And this way, your virginity will not be ruined. You can still get married. Of course, the problem was there was a child there, but she somehow solved that problem by just putting Karna in a basket and floating him down the river, pretending it never happened. But you all know this story, but the point here I wanted to make is that this is an example of how when a superior personality gives a benediction, you are kind of obliged to accept it. This is a principle which I have seen even people who are not devotees, they understand that. So I was one thing that struck me about this verse in Prabhupada. All relationships are, after all, based on giving and taking. Whenever there's just like in Padasambhita, Rupa Goswami describes this 6 kinds of loving exchanges between devotees. How does the verse go? Guyam akyati princhati punkti bhojayate janam shati piti lakshana. Offering gifts in charity, accepting charitable gifts, revealing one's mind in confidence, inquiring confidentially, accepting prasad, and serving prasad. These are the 6 symptoms of love shared between devotees. So, always there must be, for a relationship to develop, to continue, there has to be give and take. If there's no give and take, then it stops. Now, of course, we cannot force anybody. We may come forward and want to develop or begin a relationship by offering ourselves, offering our service, offering our love, but there's no, you cannot insist that the other party has to accept. Sometimes we become frustrated because we all want to have loving relationships with other devotees, and by coming forward and trying to open up, offer our service, our good feelings to another devotee, we are also putting ourselves in a vulnerable position because we may not get the reciprocation we are hoping for, and then there is possibility that our feelings will be hurt, and nobody likes that. And therefore sometimes we become, very reserved. A little reserved is okay, but if we never take the risk of opening up, of coming forward and trying to connect, then we will not develop any relationships, any deep relationships with the other devotees. So we have to take that risk. but also be prepared that we may not get the response that we are hoping for. And that's the price. If we don't take that risk, we will just be lonely. Just like there are so many lonely people in the world. Especially in the West. In India, it's not such a big problem. When there is more than 1 billion people in a country that is only 1/3 of the size of Europe, then it's hard to be lonely. Besides that, the Indians, they are still very much more, at least than us Westerners, in a village consciousness. It's like, he made the observation, having sometimes stayed with Indian families, sometimes very wealthy Indian families, living in a big house with many rooms, but like you said, somehow they still end up, all of them, sleeping in the same room. They feel better like that. So, anyway, the point is that this is one thing, that if we want to be happy in Krishna consciousness, we have to have friends, devotee friends. And in order to get friends, we must also take a risk and open up, do something to offer our friendship. Take a risk and hope for some reciprocation, but be happy even if there is no reciprocation, or not the reciprocation we would like. That can be done if we are cultivating our loving relationship with Krishna. This is one of the biggest anxieties for the living entity, to offer your good feelings to somebody and then have your feelings hurt. This may be the biggest suffering there is in the material world. I'll just relate a little experience I had once to illustrate that. I was on a tram in Oslo in Norway, where I've been staying for a number of years. And it was on the National Day of Norway, and there was some young girls, like in their 20s, good looking, I think from immigrant descent, but anyway, they were trying to assimilate, trying to integrate, and was into the national celebration of the Norwegian National Day. They'd been downtown in a party, and they were on their way back. One of them was on the phone talking with, I believe, probably her boyfriend, and she was in a very, upbeat mood, describing, oh, we had such a good time, we were on this downtown, there was a band playing, and we were dancing, and we were dancing, and we were dancing, and we were dancing, and it was so nice. Like, she was like, like nowadays people speak on the phone, in any public place, as if they were persons. So the whole tram, we all shared her, ecstatic experience on the Norway's National Day. So that was one man, probably my age, maybe a little older, just a bum actually, a little dirty, not very well groomed. He was sitting and he was staring very intently at this girl while she was, having this, this upbeat phone conversation. I was just saying, looking at her. Fully focused. And then at the end when she noticed that, of course, also. So she finished her phone call, and then she looked over at him like that. Okay, so what do you want? And he was kind of, I believe, waiting for that. And he said, he'd been meditating on that answer. He said, yeah, I'm looking at you because you're so cute. Obviously, hoping for, some loving reciprocation. But, alas, he didn't get it. What was her response? You old bum, you think I'm interested in you? And obviously I felt sorry for this man. I could just imagine how his heart was cracking. It was just a little love, just a little love. No, that is you. So, in this way we suffer in the material world. But devotees, we are fortunate because we're not depending. We also need this. We also, in one sense, I mean, we want this also, loving reciprocation with especially the other devotees. And as I said, we need to take a risk. And we can do that because we're not depending on the good feelings from others. Because why? Because we are depending on the good feelings from Krishna. And we should be, our focus should be to cultivate our loving relationship with Krishna. And it's very simple to do. We simply have to chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And we have to do it with love. That cannot be overstated. All too often, we or I find ourselves chanting our japa in a kind of careless, sometimes even indifferent way. Just let's get done with this now. We've taken our vows. So okay, I finished my 16 rounds. Now I can. Now the daily torture is over. I can get on with my, something juicy, something. The mind doesn't like the holy name. That's unfortunately the situation. But we have to catch ourselves and not allow ourselves to chant like that. Most important is that we try to chant Krishna's name as an offering of love to the Lord. This is our most important service. It may not give us anything. We may be annoyed by, our own japa, but we should still try to do it in such a way that Krishna is pleased. We should try to see things from Krishna's point of view. How does Krishna feel about what I'm doing, how I'm chanting His name. Is it pleasing? Is it nice for Him to hear? If not, then we should do something. We should try to do everything, and especially chant with in such a way that, at least with the desire, with the aspiration to that Krishna will be happy with us, with what we are doing. And just that way of thinking, just trying to think like that, immediately, that is the secret. Then connection is there. Krishna immediately, you become a little interested in how I feel. That's very nice. That's something new. I'm very happy. Krishna is immediately there, ready to reciprocate. And we will feel His loving reciprocation. And that will be enough for us to have all our emotional needs fulfilled, actually. And that will give us this solid platform on which we can take a risk to also reach out to other especially devotees, but even non-devotees, and not be so afraid that we will, there will be a negative response. Anyway, it's time to finish. There's still 5 minutes left. Anybody wants to add something?
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Microphone.
My pleasure. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhuji, as Prabhupada clearly mentioned that religion is not an entrance, but one could follow its ethics.
If you keep the microphone a little far away.
Okay. Now it's clear?
In between, a balance.
Okay. So, as Prabhupada very clearly stated that religion is not a hindrance, but one should follow its ethics.
Religion is not
an hindrance, it's not any hurdle. One should follow its ethics, any religion.
It's not a hindrance.
It's not a hindrance.
Hindrance.
One can follow any religion.
Okay. So, it is also emphasized the need, to approach Supreme Personality of Godhead with any elevated goals.
Any religion.
Elevated.
To any religion.
Yeah, that's the second point. So that all the cultures and all the causes in the Eastern and Western, whatever it may be, in the entire world, so long as they are maintaining some principles, but only the thing is deliverance is a little bit different. Suppose Christianity is different, that other religions, deliverance is a little bit different, but the object is the same. Ethics are same for each and every entity of the world, isn't it? So what my question is, then what is the loss if one go to the different religions when the object is the same?
Sorry, having a hard time understanding.
Prabhu, we said that the ethics is the same.
The ethics is the same.
So the object is the same. So what is the loss if you go to another religion?
Any religion which teaches, the right principles, like, Prabhupada was never, he always stressed that the goal is to reawaken our love of God. And any religion that will help you attain that goal, that is proper religion, that is true religion. So we have to see if that is accomplished, if we are actually becoming God conscious, then certainly, whatever we follow, that is good. So, but the truth also has to be said that most of what goes on in the name of religion nowadays there is no awakening of God consciousness. Like Prabhupada also said, they don't know who is God, they have no knowledge. So how can you develop your love for somebody you don't know? You have to know Krishna to love him. So where will you know Krishna? Yes, something is there, some preliminary, information, but very little to compare to what we will find in the Vedic scriptures, especially Srimad Bhagavatam. There you get all the information. Detailed description, who is Krishna, how he looks like, what he does, how beautiful he is, how charming he is, how kind he is. We will, everything we need to reawaken our love. Therefore, by impartial judgment, we have to agree that if we really want to, awaken our love for God, then there's nothing compared to this process of pure Krishna consciousness. But if you have if you attach to some other religion which, and you're actually following, not just giving some lip service and as Prabhupada said, thou shall not kill, is in the Bible, but in the name of being Christians, they're simply killing. This is not good. Okay, I'll take one last question and only 1 minute.
Yes. See, we were talking about Christmas earlier, since tomorrow's Christmas, I guess. Yeah. I grew up with Jewish people, so I don't know. But, Prabhupada seems to recognize Jesus as a very exalted Lord. And these Christians wish to honor Jesus on that day. However, unclear than make how concept of that. How can we consider that anything but a positive?
How can we consider that?
Anything but a positive thing that these people, at least officially, wish to honor and exalt and devote.
No, it's good. Prabhupada said we have all respect for Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I think you know how it looks like, nowadays. They're not. Who thinks about Jesus Christ on Christmas? It's just a time to, as they say in USA, pig out. It means just eat and drink and be merry. Mostly that's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, there are some pious people in the world,
Well, they pick out every day. They have Jesus, so that's awesome.
Yes, any connection with something high is good. We don't, want to condemn. We see the spark of Krishna consciousness and we try and fan it. Wasn't that Prabhupada's definition of what preaching is? Hare Krishna.